Well, good morning. How's everyone doing today? You doing good? I'm glad you're here and that you haven't melted from like the way that summer has sucker punched all of us in the gut this past week. I told someone the other day, I said, it has officially reached thigh sweat level hot. Like thigh sweat level, like that's what it's like outside for all of us. So I'm glad you haven't melted, that you're here, and it's a great day to be in church. I'm excited that y'all are here, and I'm just gonna jump right into it this morning. Last week, Dan kicked off our new series called Guardrails, and so this is week 2. And basically, he talked about last week the importance of setting up guardrails in our lives and the purpose of them and what exactly they are. And when it comes to like our roadway system, our highway system, guardrails is a system designed to keep vehicles from straying into dangerous or off-limits areas. So that's why we have guardrails on the highway, on roads. It's to keep us from going off cliffs, to keep us from driving into places that could be potentially dangerous for us. And so we think that in our lives, it's really important for us to set up certain guardrails in our life to direct and protect. That's what guardrails, their purpose is to direct us toward the life that we want and to protect us from making decisions that could lead us away from the life that we want. And so we're going to spend the next couple weeks looking at some really specific areas and ways that we can do this. Now, I would venture to say that maybe you don't know all the specifics or all the details, but I would say that everybody in this room, you probably have a picture in your head of the kind of life you want. You have goals, you have desires, you have things you want to accomplish. And if you're a Christ follower in the room, you also probably want to have the kind of life that God has promised us through Jesus when Jesus talked about this abundant life and what that looks like. If you're a Christ follower, you want to have that kind of life, that kind of abundant life that Jesus talked about. And I think we can all agree that when it comes to our goals and the things we want to accomplish, that having the life that we want to have isn't just going to happen by itself. That if there's things that we want to accomplish and a certain life we want, we are going to have to make very intentional decisions in order to get us there. So the guardrails we intentionally put in place will guide us toward the wisest decisions that we can make for us. So that is the purpose of guardrails, is to lead us toward the wisest decisions for us. And in my opinion, I personally believe that one of the most important areas that we can set up guardrails in is in our friendships. Because let's face it, nothing else affects us or influences us the way that other humans do. Nothing. Nothing else influences us the way other humans do. And think about the effect that other people have on you. Think about how you are influenced by other people's opinions, by other people's words, by other people's behaviors. We are all so impacted and so influenced by other people. So for instance, if you're a mom in the room and maybe you're just exhausted because you've been up early with the kids every day, or maybe you've been up like half the night with the kids, which let's be honest, that happens a lot. And you're just super tired, and it's a Saturday, and you come downstairs and you've been, just working with the kids, and you're real tired, and you look, and there's your just sweet husband taking a nap on the couch. And you're just like, oh, I'm sorry, are you tired? And in that moment, you suddenly feel influenced to get a bucket of ice water and dump it on his head, right? Or maybe you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, and so you're just ticked, and so you might be influenced to, go in the other lane and speed up next to that person. And then you might be influenced to show that person some, choice hand gestures in that moment because you're just, they just cut you off and you're mad. Or maybe you're at H-E-B and you're in the express checkout line. And what does the express checkout line mean? It's like, what, 15 or less, right? 15 or less items, and it says it on the sign, but maybe you're behind someone and you've got your 12 items in your cart and you're like, want to do this fast, and the person in front of you is like unloading their cart. And you start counting in your head, right? You're like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And you are influenced in that moment to maybe count out loud to make them understand, listen, you have too many items to be in this checkout lane. See, we are influenced by other people's behaviors, decisions, words, opinions, and no one can get under our skin the way other people can, right? Nothing gets under our skin the way other people can. But yet at the same time, nothing can make us feel appreciated and valued and loved the way that other humans can. We can find our greatest, moments of joy and our greatest moments of encouragement through the words of other people. Maybe, your coworker has offered to help you with a project that was really difficult. Or maybe as a teacher, maybe you have a student that wrote you this thank you card and thanked you for your investment into their life. See, those kinds of things affect us in all the best ways. They influence us in all the best ways. See, nothing else influences us the way other humans do. And if I were to line all of you up in this room and say, hey, what is the most important thing in the world to you? No one's going to list like a list of material possessions. Every single person is going to say people, the relationships, your friendships, your family, the people that are in your life. Because see, we are all inextricably connected to one another. We are built for connection and belonging to each other. Relationships and friendships are the most important thing to us. As humans, we are wired for connection. And we actually need this kind of connection with one another to have healthy and thriving lives. It's emotionally healthy for us to have that. In fact, when we read the story of creation in Genesis, what does God say as we read this beautiful story of everything being created? Well, there's Adam, and then what does God say? It's not good for us to be alone. It's not good. Because it's in our DNA, it's inside of us, it's a part of who we are to be connected and to belong to one another. And because of this, as we discuss this topic of guardrails, we have to understand that not only are we wired for connection, but when it comes to friendship, we actually choose the connections that we have. We choose who our friends are. It's entirely up to us to choose who fulfills that role of friend in our life. Not every relationship we get to choose. You don't always get to choose your coworkers. You don't get to choose who your parents are. You don't get to choose who your siblings are. And some of you are like, I wish I could have chosen who my siblings were. I would have picked someone totally different. But we don't always get to make that choice, but with our friendships we do. It's our choice. We get to choose. And when I'm talking about friendship today, I'm not talking about like just casual friendships, kind of acquaintances, people, that you kind of hang out with. Sometimes I'm talking about those friendships, those relationships that are the closest to you, the ones that you are living life with, the ones that know everything about you, that you let in on all the stuff happening in your life, those kinds of friendships. And because it is our choice, we need to choose our friends wisely. We need to choose our friends wisely. If we look at Proverbs 12:26, it says this: the righteous should choose his friends carefully, for the way of the wicked leads them astray. Now, I want to say, I'm not here saying that some of us are righteous and some are wicked. Like, we look at that and go, man, that's really strong language. Like, it's not saying like, oh, Christian people are righteous and everybody else is just wicked. Like, that's not what this is getting at. Oftentimes in Proverbs, when you will see language like this, it's trying to give you this drastic difference between two different options or two different ways of living, okay? And when it comes to choosing friendship, we have to understand, like it says here, choose your friends carefully, for the way of the wicked can lead you astray. Our friendships affect us. They affect the way we live our life now, and they affect our future. They affect the choices we make down the road and the kind of life that we want to have. See, when we're choosing friends, we have two options. We can either choose healthy friendships or unhealthy friendships. Those are just our options that we have. And when we choose healthy friendships, those friendships have the capability of making our lives really rich and meaningful. They have the option of, those kinds of friendships can really encourage us and spur us on and give us the strength that we need when life feels like it's falling apart. Those friends can empower us to be everything that we know that we can be. And I'm sure a lot of you in this room today, and I know I can say the same thing, that maybe we can look at some successes and some accomplishments in our life, and we can attribute those to the friendships we had during that time and say, it's because of the championing of this friend that I actually went for it and I started the business, or I moved to this new city, or we could look at the influence of our friends and see some really great things that we've accomplished largely due to their encouragement and their influence in our life. I know in my own life, it's my friendships that make me stronger. I need my friends. They push me to be the best version of myself, and they're a safe place for me to be exactly who I am. If we look at Proverbs 27:17, it says, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. And it's this picture of when you get two iron blades and you rub them up against each other, both blades become sharper and thus more effective. And it's that way in our friendships. When we have healthy friendships with people that are spurring us on to be the best version of ourselves, that are making us better, we're both becoming better humans in the process. We're both learning how to love people better. We're learning how to be the best version of ourselves. It's these iron sharpens iron friendships. And this is actually, I experienced this week. Whenever I'm preaching on a Sunday, I have 4 kids. And so trying to find like 30 minutes of like quiet, focused time can be challenging to say the least. And so whenever I'm prepping, I'm like trying to grab 30 minutes here, an hour here, and try to work on it. And I remember I called Dan on Wednesday and I was like just stressed because my message wasn't coming together how I wanted it, and I just felt pressure. And every Wednesday evening I have a coffee appointment with a really good friend of mine. Every Wednesday we do this, and he was like, well, why don't you just cancel your coffee with Sid and work on your message? And I was like, no, I can't, this is what I need the most right now. And I'm so glad, because I walked away from that hour that I spent with her feeling like I could accomplish anything. There were some doubts I was having about my capabilities, and she reminded me of who I am and encouraged me and pushed me on. And that's the kind of friendship that we need. That's a healthy friendship in action. So I walked away from that feeling like I really could be the best version of myself. That's what healthy friendship does. However, on the flip side, our friendships also have the potential to have the opposite effect. And some of you are probably right now going, yep, because you're maybe thinking of some ways this is proven true in your life. The friendships we choose also have the capability of making our lives harder and more stressful. Unhealthy friendships will drag us down. They'll bring drama. Oh, the drama. We all know, the people that tend to have drama everywhere they go, sometimes that can just make our life more stressful. And in fact, when we are investing in these unhealthy friendships, rather than setting up guardrails in our life to sort of direct us and protect us from things like this, those unhealthy friendships end up becoming a roadblock that really hinders us from being the person we want to be, from having the kind of life that we want to have. If we're not careful, unhealthy friendships have the potential to do that. Oftentimes when we're engaged in unhealthy friendships, we can find ourselves maybe taking on some of those character traits that we don't like, that we don't want, that we see in them that maybe are negative. But the more time we spend with people, the more we end up becoming like them. It just happens. I mean, why do you think, that's why as parents, we tend to kind of maybe hold a little too tightly to it, but when our kids are making friends, that's why it's so important, why we're telling them it's so important that you make good friends, because we know so often as your friends go, so you go. It's really, really important, and it matters. If you have a close friend and they just gossip and gossip and gossip and gossip and gossip all the time, chances are you're probably going to find yourself engaging in gossip and maybe saying some hurtful things about people, and it's just not healthy. It's not a healthy way to do friendship. When we choose to nurture negative and unhealthy friendships, we find ourselves moving further and further and further away from the life we want and from the person that we want to be. And some of you in here, when you think about some of your biggest regrets in life, oftentimes those regrets are tied to those unhealthy friendships. Many times that's the case. You can look back and see how the whole trajectory of your life may be shifted at one season in your life based on who your friends were at that time. That can happen in a positive way, but can also happen in a very negative way. And some of you may be currently involved in some friendships that really are not bringing out the best in you. And it might be time this morning to start to evaluate some of that. Because if you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that some of these friendships are actually holding you back and preventing you from being who you want to be. Because like I said earlier, nothing else influences us like other humans do. Nothing else. The kind of friends we choose is so important, because friendship will either breathe life into you or it will drain the life out of you. It'll breathe life into you. We've hopefully, most of us have had those kind of friends where you hang out with them and you walk away just feeling like you just got a big breath of fresh air. You just feel better. You are challenged to love more. You just are able to be encouraged and strengthened from having time with that person. They're breathing life into you. And then there's those friends and those unhealthy friendships that we are a part of that we walk away feeling drained. We walk away feeling like just discouraged. And that isn't the kind of friendship that we want to spend our time investing into. And here's the thing, when I'm talking about these kinds of unhealthy friendships, I want you to understand that I'm not being demeaning or judgmental towards these people. Okay, I'm not saying they're not bad people, okay? They are deserving of friendship, okay? Just because maybe the relationship between the two of you isn't healthy doesn't mean they can't have a healthy friendship with somebody else. So I'm not judging people. We just have to go back to this question that Dan brought up last week, okay? And this question is, in light of my past experience, my current circumstance, and my future hopes and dreams, what is the wise thing for me to do? What is the wise thing for me to do? So based on my past, things in my past, based on what I'm dealing with and where I'm at right now, and based on what I want my life to look like, what are the wise friendship choices I should make, given all of those things? When you're choosing your friendships, the people that are going to have the most influence over you, the people that you're going to share your life with, it's important to ask these questions. See, recognizing that a certain friendship isn't best for you, it's not being judgmental, it's using good judgment. There is a difference. Okay, being judgmental is drawing a harsh conclusion about someone. But using good judgment is drawing a wise conclusion about yourself. If there's someone that friendship between you isn't good for you, that doesn't mean that you demean that person. It doesn't mean that you harbor hatred and bitterness and anger toward that person, or that you tell that person, I can't be friends with you because you're just a bad influence. No, it doesn't mean you do it like that. You don't judge that person. You say, you know what? Based on where I'm at in my life right now, this is not best for me. Amen. It's about us, not about them. It's about us and what's best for us in that moment. And the fact of the matter is, there are sometimes just going to be people in our lives that do not bring out the best in us. It's just how it is. Maybe it's because you share similar weaknesses, and so rather than spurring each other on, you really more enable each other. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's that the choices that they seem to make over and over again, you're just not okay with that kind of stuff. But then the more you're with them and the closer you get, the more you find yourself making those same choices. Whatever it looks like, whatever the reason is, it's not about you judging them. It's about you using good judgment about what's best for you. So what do we do with this? How do we approach our lives and our friendships in a way that where our friendships are healthy and that they enhance our lives and don't hinder us and hold us back? The way that we can assure that we're building healthy friendships is this whole concept of setting up guardrails in our lives. Because see, remember, guardrails are designed to direct and protect. Okay, direct us toward the friendships that are going to help push us towards the life we want, and protect us from the friendships that could potentially be damaging or steer us away from the life that we want. And as I've kind of reflected on my own life and my own friendships, and I've thought about kind of, past friendships and where I'm at right now, for me, whenever I'm trying to make wise decisions, one of the best things that I can do is I ask myself some really good questions. I find like a list of good questions to ask myself in any given moment to kind of help me make the wisest decision for my life. And here's the thing I'm going to talk about today, you might need something totally different. There might be other guardrails that you need to put into place, and I would say do that. I'm just hoping today to give us a good start of some things that have helped me personally when I've been pursuing different friendships in my life. So the guardrails I'm going to give you, I'm going to frame them in the form of questions that we can ask ourselves as we are evaluating current friendships and as we are, going down the road of making new friendships. So the first 3 questions that I'm going to give you are going to be more the direct part of a guardrail, where we're going to say, okay, these questions will help to direct us toward making the right kinds of friends. And the last question I'm going to address is going to be more one that can help protect us from potentially damaging friendships. So here we go. These are some relational guardrail questions. Number 1 is, are they emotionally safe? Are they emotionally safe? This is a really great question to ask yourself when it comes to a friendship. Emotional safety is this state achieved in a relationship when both parties are able to be vulnerable with each other. That's emotional safety. And actually, there's been some research done in neurobiology that shows us that emotional safety is actually one of the most, if not the most, important aspect of connection in a relationship. And the reason is because if we don't feel emotionally safe with someone, our natural instinct is to withdraw, to put up walls, and to protect ourselves from that relationship. When you feel emotionally safe, you move towards someone, but when you don't feel emotionally safe, you pull back and retreat. And our bodies actually have a neurological response when we don't feel emotionally safe that prohibits us from making connection. It's like stuff is happening in our brain that when we don't feel safe with someone emotionally, we don't connect because we're not going to let them in. We're not going to share those deepest parts of our life with them if we don't feel emotionally safe. So if you find yourself in a friendship where either you are not allowed to be vulnerable, where that vulnerability that you give isn't treated with care, or if you are made to pay for that vulnerability in some way, that relationship is not emotionally safe. That's not an emotionally safe friendship. If you feel like you need to be someone other than who you truly are because of words that person has said to you or a way that they make you feel when you are truly who you are, then that relationship is not emotionally safe. Trying to develop a friendship with an emotionally unsafe person is exhausting because no matter how hard you try to connect, your brain screams, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and puts up walls to protect you. It's exhausting. There's some people in my life, even currently, that I've had to sort of evaluate and go, I don't always feel emotionally safe with that person. And so I've had to make some tough choices to kind of pull back a little bit. And again, this doesn't make them a bad person. If there's someone that you're realizing, okay, this friendship with them is unhealthy, I need to pull back, this isn't best for me, it does not make them bad or undeserving of love or any of that. It just means that the friendship between the two of you is just not a good idea. It's not what's best for you. And the thing is, we kind of have to get used to this idea because we're not going to be close friends with every single person we meet. You're going to work with people, go to church with people, you're going to go to school with people, you're going to meet people throughout your life that you're just not going to be close to them for one reason or another, and that is okay. There's this quote by Beth Moore that I absolutely love that I came across recently, and it says, "Guard your heart out there. All are love-worthy. Not all are trustworthy. Authenticity with all, transparency with most, intimacy with some." I was like, oh, and that's so good. It's just so good. It's so true. Everyone is loved. We are not debating here whether or not someone is deserving of love or friendship. That is not even up for discussion because everybody is, okay? All are love-worthy. It's just for you, not all are going to be trustworthy. You're not going to be able to find that vulnerability and that transparency with everyone. And you're certainly not going to find an intimate connection with every person. And that is okay. Who you are is valuable, and you will be at your best when you are in friendship with other people who recognize, affirm, and celebrate that value that you have in you. That's when you will be at your best. Question number 2 is, do they make you better? Do they make you better? The kinds of friendships that are healthy and worth investing into are the ones in which we are pushed toward becoming the best version of ourselves. We should be pursuing friendships that push us toward wholehearted living and pull us back from mediocrity. The people that can look at us and say, you are more than that. I believe in you. You can do this. That champion us, that encourage us, that make us better. If you have friends in your life who bring you down or hold you back instead of launching you and pushing you forward, it's time to reevaluate that friendship. Just like the scripture we read from Proverbs earlier about the iron sharpening iron, healthy friendships are ones that make us better human beings, that make us love people more, that make us just the best absolute version of ourselves that we can be. Question number 3 is, do they point you to Jesus? And this one's, especially if you're a Christ follower, this one is important, okay? We all need people in our lives who are going to champion us in our faith and are going to walk that journey with us. It's important to have people in our life that can hold us accountable, that are on the same journey we are so we can learn from each other and grow. It's really, really important. Hebrews 10:24 says this, let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. I love that. A healthy friendship will motivate you toward acts of love and good works. That's what healthy friendship does. A healthy friendship that's pointing you towards Jesus, because the way of Jesus was the way of love, plain and simple. So if a friendship is pointing you toward the way of love, that's pointing you to Jesus. And I want to be really clear here, because sometimes as Christians, we can think that all of our close friends can only be other Christians who think and believe just like we do. And that's just not the case. In fact, Dan and I, 2 of our best friends, we've been friends with them for about 20 years now, they're not Christians. They do not believe the same way we do. They don't have the same, their faith looks really differently from Dan and I. But I'll tell you what, the way that they parent with grace, the way they love each other, the way they love people, the way they invest in the lives of others, when I'm with them, not only do they make me want to be the very best version of myself I can be, but they push me closer to Jesus. They push me closer to the way of love. See, we are doing ourselves a disservice if we just surround ourselves in this echo chamber of friends who all believe the same and think the same way that we do. There's no opportunity for growth in that. Sometimes our greatest chances for growth are in those friendships with people that believe totally different than we do, that think really different than we do, that affiliate themselves with a different political party than we do. We don't have to think and believe the same way with people in order to have close, good, healthy friendships with them. The question is as a Christ follower, are they pushing me closer to Jesus in the way of love? And I get it. It is important to have, people that are on the same journey as you. Absolutely. But we don't want to discount how beautiful it is when we can learn to live in community with people that are really, really, really different from us. In fact, I feel like that's life. That's what God wants, is for all of us to live in this community with each other despite thinking or believing different things. And the last question that I have for you, again, this one is more of a help protect us from damaging relationships. The last question is their overall influence on your life positive or negative? Is their overall influence on your life positive or negative? Now, no friendship is perfect, okay? We're all going to go through rough patches. We're all going to have arguments. We're all going to hurt each other's feelings at one time or another. So I'm not talking about that. And what I'm about to talk about, I'm also not talking about, this isn't an excuse to get out of dealing with difficult people or loving our enemy. This isn't an excuse to not do those things. And I don't know that many people in the room will be able to relate to this, but I think it's important enough that I wanted to talk about it. See, in a healthy friendship, the positive should far outweigh the negative. And if you find yourself in a friendship with someone that it's more negative than positive, if you find yourself in a relationship that could be considered toxic, And what I mean by a toxic friendship is one in which you are being manipulated, used, or repeatedly hurt in any way. If you find yourself in a relationship like that, it is probably time for you to let go. It's probably time for you to let go. And this is hard for a lot of people, but especially I think it's hard for Christians because we feel like, we're supposed to love everybody. We're supposed to be full of love. And so, we almost that makes us feel guilty for distancing ourselves from a harmful relationship. We take on this responsibility of like, well, I have to love them. And so that means I have to have this intimate, close friendship. And the thing is, you can love people at a distance. You can love people at a distance. And for some of you, if you have a toxic relationship in your life right now, that is going to be the best thing you can do. See, loving someone doesn't mean you have to allow yourself to continue to be hurt, to continue to be used or taken advantage of or manipulated. You can love someone at a distance. Being a Christian doesn't mean you have to invest into a damaging relationship. And it's important that we put the necessary guardrails in place to help protect us from that. See, like we talked about at the beginning, we all have a picture of the kind of life we want to live. We all have a picture as Christians of the life that we believe that God wants for us, this abundant life that Jesus talked about. And I believe that God wants us to thrive and to live lives that are marked by love. I believe that with all my heart. And if the friends that we keep, the friends that we have, the people closest to us, if those friendships are having a negative effect and they're pulling us further away from that life, then we need to, at the very least, distance ourselves and possibly even let that go. So as we close today, what I want all of us to do, and the band's going to play a couple songs here in a second and give us a chance to kind of reflect and respond. And I want you to get kind of introspective and just think about the friendships you currently have. Or maybe you're in need of some good friendships. And as you think about those things, I want you to ask yourself these 4 questions that we just talked about. I want you to ask yourself, are my friends emotionally safe? Are your friends emotionally safe? Can you be vulnerable with them? And then, do your friends make you better? Do they push you to be the very best version of yourself? Do they point you to Jesus? Do they spur you on in love and good works? And then lastly, are there any toxic relationships that you need to let go of? And the thing is, it's not easy. I know that. I've had probably 5 conversations after the first 2 services with people that were like, I know I have this toxic relationship in my life, but it's so hard to walk away. So I get that. It's really, really difficult. And the thing is, I can't give you like 5 steps on how to do that. But in the most loving way that you can, you might need to let go. Because you matter. The direction of your life and who you are matters enough to do so. And here's the thing, maybe you're in here and you're saying, gosh, I would love to find friends like this. I would love to work on developing healthy friendships in my life. And maybe you're not really sure where to start. I'll give you a great place to start, and it's with small groups. And here's the thing, I'm not just like, oh yeah, you're the pastor, like telling everyone, get in small groups. We don't do small groups just because to do another ministry. That's not why we do it. We do small groups because we believe in the importance and the value of connection, of belonging, of healthy friendship. And time again, I have heard tons of people tell stories about how the friendships they have made in their small groups have completely changed their life. Some of my closest friends in this whole world are friends that I made at small group. Either the one I'm in now or ones that I've been in the past. And then once you join a small group, really invest. Don't just show up and then leave right away, but really put yourself out there. Make the effort to invest. Sometimes you might just need to ask someone to be your friend. Has anyone ever done that before? I've done that. like a 6-year-old on a playground, I have been like, I think you're awesome, and I see so many things about you that I want to learn from you, and I want that to be in my life. Will you be my friend? And you'd be surprised at how many people are like, yes. Because we're all looking for that, we all want that connection. So you might feel stupid, but put yourself out there. It's worth it. So I'm going to pray for you, and then the band's going to play a couple songs and give you all a chance to have a moment to respond to what we've heard today. God, I'm so grateful